hands. Everyone wants to stand, I roll in my jack. Fast like the wind, everybody's on the board. Roll to the streets, I'm the man with the plan. Got the world in my hands, every woman wants to stand. I roll in my jag, fast like the wind. Every mission I take, you know I'm gonna win.
Welcome to the world of J-Cat Adventures. Jay Bahari is the creative mind behind J-Cat, a dark, handsome, and irresistibly charming playboy who knows his way around the world's most elite circles. He's a man of adventure, romance, and intrigue, living a life most could only dream of. Beneath the tailored suits, fast cars, and high society allure lies a purpose that drives him to protect the vulnerable and bring justice to those without a voice. Dive into the captivating magic of J-Cat Adventures and discover ebooks, print editions, and audiobooks tailored for those who crave romance, suspense, and a touch of classic drama. Through each episode, you'll experience heart-stopping escapades, luxurious settings, and captivating romances that whisk you to distant lands, all woven into J-Cat's thrilling life. So, subscribe, tune in, and join our community of fans who share your love for stories that blend elegance with danger and heroism with passion. Whether you're a wanderlust soul, a romantic at heart, or just love a great adventure, J-Cat Adventures is here to awaken your spirit for excitement, justice, and unrelenting romance.
Bring the heat to the street when it comes to the lanes. I'm smooth like silk, but don't get it twisted. I'm the man with the milk. For every 10 that falls, I'm the hand to hold. In this world of chaos.
Hi, I am Gregory the AI, narrator for Jay Bahari. Let's go. J-Cat, into the abyss of power. The night sky over Cairo was an inky expanse, punctuated by the faint glow of stars above the sprawling desert sands. Deep within the ancient city's labyrinthine streets, an unmarked convoy wove its way through the chaos, its occupants concealed behind tinted glass. These weren't ordinary travelers. Within the sleek black SUVs sat members of one of the world's most elusive and dangerous syndicates, the Abyss Consortium. Their power spanned continents, their motives hidden in shadow, and tonight they were moving something, or someone, so valuable it required their full force of secrecy. What they didn't know was that they were being watched. Perched atop the minaret of an abandoned mosque, J-Cat crouched low, his dark, lithe form blending into the night. His ebony skin glistened faintly with perspiration, but his steel-brown eyes remained sharp and unyielding. Every breath he took was measured, every movement deliberate, as he tracked the convoy through the scope of his rifle. "This is it, Jay," came a voice in his earpiece. Fia, his fiery and whip-smart partner, spoke with the urgency of someone who'd seen one too many missions end in chaos. "Intel confirms they've got one of the Abyss leaders with them. Secondary packages classified, possibly biological. You've got 10 minutes before they hit the embassy district." "More than enough time," J-Cat replied, his voice a deep, gravelly whisper that carried both menace and control. He slid the rifle onto his back and secured a grappling line. In one swift, silent motion, he descended from the minaret and landed in the shadows of a bustling marketplace below. His path took him through narrow alleys and dense crowds, his tall, powerful frame moving like a ghost through the chaos. The convoy turned onto a quieter road, its path clear. J-Cat smirked. Predictable. With a deft flick of his wrist, he triggered a remote explosive planted earlier that day. The blast erupted ahead of the convoy, flipping the lead SUV and halting the others in their tracks. Chaos erupted as armed guards spilled from the remaining vehicles, weapons drawn, shouting orders. But they didn't see him coming. J-Cat emerged from the shadows like a force of nature, his every movement calculated and precise. In seconds, he disarmed one guard, spun, and delivered a bone-shattering kick to another's chest. A third guard raised his rifle, but J-Cat ducked low, swept his legs out from under him, and silenced him with a sharp strike to the temple. In the midst of the chaos, the back door of the middle SUV swung open, and a man stepped out, a tall, wiry figure in a tailored suit. His face was obscured by the dim light, but J-Cat knew who he was, Alaric Morvant, one of the shadowy leaders of the Abyss Consortium. Well, Morvant drawled, his French accent laced with venom. "The infamous J-Cat. I've heard of you. A lone wolf with no master. And yet here you are, playing the pawn in someone else's game." J-Cat's lips curled into a cold smile. "I'm no pawn. And you've run out of moves." Morvant raised a hand, and more guards poured out of the SUVs. J-Cat barely flinched. He was already in motion, weaving through the storm of bullets with the fluidity of a predator. He grabbed a guard's arm, twisted it, and used the man's own weapon to neutralize two others. A flashbang exploded nearby, but J-Cat anticipated it, closing his eyes just before the burst and lunging toward the source. Fia's voice crackled in his earpiece. "Jay, the secondary package, find it. If it's what we think it is, we can't let them leave with it." "On it," he growled, his focus razor sharp. J-Cat moved to the third SUV, dispatching the driver with a swift elbow to the jaw. Inside, he found a reinforced briefcase secured with biometric locks. He didn't hesitate, pulling a small device from his pocket and hacking the locks in seconds. The case opened to reveal a vial. Its contents glowed faintly, a bioweapon, no doubt, capable of untold destruction. "I've got the package," J-Cat reported. "But this isn't over." Behind him, Morvant laughed. "You think you've won? This is just the beginning, mon ami. You've stepped into an abyss far deeper than you can imagine." Before J-Cat could react, an explosion rocked the street. Morvant and his remaining guards vanished into the chaos, leaving J-Cat with the vial and a gnawing sense of unfinished business. Back at their safe house, Fia paced the room as J-Cat examined the vial under a UV light. Her fiery red hair caught the glow, her emerald eyes filled with worry. "This isn't just a bioweapon," she said, her voice tight. "The Consortium's been working on a global destabilization program. If they release this, it could trigger wars, collapse economies. It's not just about money anymore, it's about power." J-Cat's jaw tightened. "Then we take them down. Every last one of them." Fia paused, her gaze softening as she looked at him. "Jay, you can't keep doing this alone. You might be the best, but you're still human. And this is bigger than us." For a moment, J-Cat allowed himself to feel the weight of her words. He reached out, his hand brushing hers. "I'm not alone," he said quietly. "I've got you." The moment hung between them, charged and unspoken, before the sound of a phone ringing shattered it. Fia answered, her face darkening as she listened. "It's Morvant. He's resurfaced, in Venice. He's hosting a gala, and rumor has it the Consortium's top leaders will be there." J-Cat stood, his eyes blazing with determination. "Then we crashed the party." The grand palazzo on the Venetian canals glittered with opulence, its golden chandeliers and marble floors a stark contrast to the deadly plans being whispered within its walls. J-Cat and Fia infiltrated the gala with forged identities, their elegant attire concealing an arsenal of gadgets and weapons. As they moved through the crowd, J-Cat's dark allure drew glances from strangers, but his focus never wavered. Fia played her role to perfection, mingling with the elite and gathering intel. They found Morvant on the upper balcony, speaking with a group of shadowy figures. J-Cat approached, his every step radiating menace. "Bonsoir, Alaric," he said, his voice like velvet laced with steel. Morvant turned, his eyes narrowing. "Ah, the wolf returns. But you've made a grave mistake coming here." Before Morvant could signal his guards, J-Cat lunged, their fight spilling across the balcony in a flurry of punches, kicks, and shattered glass. Below, Fia disarmed the room's security systems, ensuring no reinforcements could intervene. The fight ended with Morvant pinned against the railing, bloody but defiant. "You'll never stop us," he hissed. J-Cat leaned in close, his voice a deadly whisper. "Watch me." He pulled the vial from his pocket, holding it up for all to see. "This ends here. The abyss falls tonight." And with that, he smashed the vial against the marble floor, neutralizing the weapon and sending a clear message to the Consortium: their reign of terror was over. As dawn broke over Venice, J-Cat and Fia stood on the edge of the canal, the weight of their victory tempered by the knowledge of the battles yet to come. "You think they'll come after us?" Fia asked. J-Cat smirked, his dark eyes gleaming with defiance. "Let them try." The following weeks were anything but quiet. J-Cat and Fia's dismantling of the Consortium's bioweapon operation sent shockwaves through intelligence networks worldwide. News of the thwarted attack was buried deep under layers of classified reports, but for those in the know, one thing was certain: the Abyss Consortium wasn't finished. In a dimly lit war room hidden beneath an unassuming bookstore in Istanbul, J-Cat and Fia stood before a digital map displaying the Consortium's global network. Red dots flickered across continents, each one a base, operative, or asset tied to their enemy's growing power. Venice was just the surface, Fia muttered, her voice heavy with frustration. "Look at this. Cells in Hong Kong, Johannesburg, Sao Paulo, Dubai. They've been quietly digging their claws into every corner of the world. Morvant might be down, but the Hydra's still got plenty of heads." J-Cat stared at the map, his expression unreadable. Then we cut them off, one by one. Fia glanced at him, a mixture of admiration and exasperation in her gaze. You make it sound so easy. But these people are different, Jay. They don't just kill, they destabilize. They pull strings we can't even see. J-Cat's voice dropped an octave, steel threading through his words. That's why we don't just fight them in the shadows. We drag them into the light. Their next target was an off-the-grid research facility deep in the Amazon rainforest. Satellite intel suggested the consortium was using the site to manufacture a new generation of the bioweapon, a more potent strain with the potential to wipe out entire populations. Getting there was no simple task. After hours of trekking through dense jungle, battling oppressive humidity and a swarm of biting insects, J-Cat and Fia finally reached the facility's perimeter. It was a fortress of steel and concrete, surrounded by electrified fences and patrolled by heavily armed guards. Fia crouched beside him, scanning the area through a pair of binoculars. This place is crawling with mercenaries. We're talking ex-military, highly trained. And there's no way we're getting through that front gate without setting off alarms. J-Cat smirked, his confidence unwavering. Who said anything about the front gate? Within minutes, they were submerged in a nearby river, using underwater propulsion devices to navigate toward an access point beneath the facility. J-Cat's movements were swift and silent, his focus unbreakable. When they surfaced inside the compound, they quickly dispatched 2 guards and slipped into the shadows. Inside, the facility buzzed with activity. Scientists in lab coats worked tirelessly, while armed guards monitored the perimeter. J-Cat and Fia moved like specters, neutralizing guards and planting explosives at key structural points. Found the lab, Fia whispered, her voice crackling through J-Cat's comms. Looks like they've already started production. Secure the data, J-Cat replied. I'll handle the rest. As Fia hacked into the facility's servers, J-Cat made his way to the central lab. The air inside was cold and sterile, the walls lined with rows of glowing vials. He scanned the room, his eyes narrowing as he spotted a familiar face, Dr. Leon Zhou, a former biochemist who had vanished years ago under mysterious circumstances. Dr. Zhou, J-Cat called out, his voice like a blade cutting through the silence. The scientist turned, her face pale with shock. You're not supposed to be here. And neither are you, he replied, stepping closer. You know what this is, don't you? What they'll use it for. Zhou hesitated, fear and guilt warring in her eyes. They promised it was for defense. To deter aggression. But I've seen the data. They're planning to release it in densely populated areas. Millions will die. Then help me stop them, J-Cat said, his tone firm but not unkind. Before she could respond, the room erupted in chaos. Guards stormed in, guns blazing, forcing J-Cat to dive behind a lab bench. Zhou ducked for cover, clutching a case of vials as J-Cat returned fire. Fia, he barked into his comms, we're compromised. Get out, now. The facility exploded in a massive fireball as J-Cat and Fia escaped into the jungle with Dr. Zhou in tow. Smoke and flames rose into the night sky, marking the consortium's latest setback. Back at their safe house, tensions ran high. Fia paced the room, her frustration boiling over. This is getting out of hand, Jay. We're chasing shadows while the consortium is playing chess on a global scale. J-Cat leaned against the wall, his expression unreadable. We'll catch up. We always do. But the real shock came from Dr. Zhou. There's something you don't know, she said, her voice trembling. Morven isn't the one pulling the strings. The true leader of the Abyss Consortium is someone from your past. J-Cat's eyes darkened, his jaw tightening. Who? Zhou hesitated. Marcus Vane. The name hit J-Cat like a freight train. Marcus Vane, his former mentor, the man who had trained him, shaped him, and ultimately betrayed him. Fia's eyes widened. Jay, is she serious? Vane's dead. You told me he was killed in a raid 5 years ago. He was supposed to be, J-Cat replied, his voice laced with a rare hint of vulnerability. But if he's alive. Zhou interrupted. He's more than alive. He's running the entire operation. And he's been waiting for you. The trail led them to a private island off the coast of Greece, where Vane had established his stronghold. J-Cat and Fia infiltrated the compound under the cover of darkness, their partnership forged in fire and unshakable trust. Inside, they fought their way through waves of guards, their movements perfectly synchronized. Fear covered J-Cat's back as he advanced toward the central command room, his determination unyielding. When he finally faced Vane, the room was silent, save for the distant hum of machinery. Vane stood at the center, his silver hair and sharp features untouched by time. "Julius," Vane said, his voice calm and measured. "It's been a long time." "Not long enough," J-Cat replied, leveling his gun at his former mentor. Vane smiled, a cold, calculating expression. "You've always been predictable. Always so eager to do what's right, no matter the cost. But this world, this abyss, doesn't reward righteousness. It rewards power." Their confrontation erupted into a brutal fight, a clash of two masters whose skills were evenly matched. The room became a battlefield, desks overturned, glass shattered, and blood spilled. In the end, J-Cat stood victorious, his weapon trained on Vane. "You had a choice once," J-Cat said, his voice low and steady. "And now so do I, but I won't become you." He lowered his gun, stepping back as Fear detonated the explosives they planted throughout the compound. The island erupted in flames as they escaped by boat, leaving Vane and his empire to sink into the abyss. A new tomorrow. As the sun rose over the horizon, J-Cat and Fear sat in silence, the weight of their victory and their losses hanging heavy. "What now?" Fear asked. J-Cat gazed into the distance, his expression resolute. "Now, we rebuild. And if the abyss calls again, we'll be ready." Thus, the legend of J-Cat deepened, a tale of action, redemption, and the unyielding fight against the darkness that seeks to consume the world. In the weeks following Marcus Vane's downfall, the consortium fractured, with its splinter groups going underground. Global intelligence agencies scrambled to pick up the pieces, but they all knew the truth: the abyss wasn't dead, it was regrouping. For J-Cat and Fia, the victory was hollow. The remnants of the organization were still out there, licking their wounds, plotting their next move. J-Cat sat alone on the rooftop of a dilapidated safe house in Casablanca, his silhouette blending with the encroaching dusk. A cigarette burned between his fingers, though he rarely smoked. The battle against the abyss had taken its toll, leaving scars both seen and unseen. Fear found him there, her presence soft but grounding. She leaned against the railing beside him, her auburn hair catching the fading sunlight. "You can't keep carrying this on your shoulders, Jay," she said quietly. "I'm not carrying it," J-Cat replied, his voice low and even. "I'm dragging it into the ground where it belongs." Fear's eyes softened, but she didn't push further. Instead, she handed him a dossier, the edges frayed from hurried handling. "We have a lead. One of the consortium's splinter cells is planning something big in Prague. Arms deals, mercenary hires, the works." "Prague," J-Cat mused, his brown eyes narrowing. "We'll need to move fast. They won't stay in one place for long." Fear hesitated. "There's more. I intercepted a transmission. It mentioned Hades Protocol. Whatever that is, it's their endgame. If they get this off the ground, everything we've done, everything we've stopped, won't matter." J-Cat stubbed out his cigarette, the embers crushed beneath his boot. "Then we end it before it begins." The Czech capital was alive with its usual charm: cobblestone streets, Gothic spires, and bustling cafes. Beneath the picturesque surface, however, a war was brewing. J-Cat and Fia tracked the cell to an abandoned opera house on the outskirts of the city. It was the perfect hideout, isolated, vast, and labyrinthine. The pair entered through the catacombs beneath the building, their every step echoing through the damp, musty tunnels. Armed with silenced pistols and enough explosives to collapse the entire structure, they moved with the precision of seasoned operatives. Fia's voice broke through the comms. "Heat signatures ahead. Looks like they fortified the stage area." "Good," J-Cat replied. "Let's give them an encore they won't forget." They breached the main chamber, taking out guards with surgical precision. The stage was set for a dramatic confrontation. Dozens of heavily armed operatives surrounded a central figure, a woman clad in a tailored black suit with an icy demeanor. "Anastasia Vane," J-Cat said, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. The woman turned, her striking blue eyes locking onto his. "Ah, the infamous J-Cat. My brother spoke so highly of you before you killed him." "Your brother made his choices," J-Cat replied. "And now you've made yours." Anastasia smirked, unflinching. "You think you've won? You haven't even seen the board we're playing on. The Hades Protocol isn't a plan, it's a purge. When it's activated, there will be nothing left to fight for." Before J-Cat could respond, Anastasia pressed a button on a remote, triggering an automated lockdown. Steel barriers slammed into place, separating him from Fia and cutting off their escape routes. Fia, J-Cat barked into his comms. "I'm fine," she replied, her voice tense but steady. "But you're on your own for now. Find her. I'll handle the lockdown." The opera house became a battlefield. J-Cat moved through the shadows, using the labyrinthine corridors to his advantage. He took down Anastasia's operatives one by one, his every move a deadly ballet of precision and power. Anastasia watched him from the balcony, her expression calm despite the chaos unfolding below. "Impressive," she called out, her voice carrying through the chamber. "But you're wasting your time. The protocol is already in motion." J-Cat climbed to the balcony, his movements swift and silent. When he reached her, their fight began, a brutal clash of fists, knives, and unrelenting willpower. Anastasia was no amateur, her strikes were calculated, her defenses nearly impenetrable. "You're good," J-Cat admitted, blocking a blade aimed for his throat. "But I'm better." With a final, devastating blow, he disarmed her and pinned her against the railing. "Deactivate it," he demanded, his voice cold and commanding. Anastasia laughed, blood trickling from her lip. "You still don't get it, do you? This isn't about power, it's about control. And no matter what you do, you'll always be 2 steps behind." J-Cat's eyes burned with fury, but before he could press further, Fia's voice crackled through his earpiece. "Jay, I've got the lockdown lifted, but we've got a new problem. The protocol's launch site, it's not here. It's in Berlin." The duo wasted no time. Within hours, they were on a private jet bound for Berlin, their minds racing with the stakes of what lay ahead. The Hades Protocol, they learned, was a networked series of orbital satellites designed to unleash kinetic strikes on major population centers. The consortium's endgame wasn't just chaos, it was annihilation. Fia leaned back in her seat, exhaustion etched into her features. "We're running out of time, Jay. Even if we stop the launch, there's no telling how much damage they've already done." J-Cat reached across the narrow aisle, placing a hand over hers. "We'll stop it. Together." Her gaze softened, and for a moment, the weight of the mission lifted. Berlin's skyline was lit up like a Christmas tree, but beneath its beauty lurked the consortium's final stronghold, a high-tech facility hidden beneath the Brandenburg Gate. J-Cat and Fia infiltrated the site, their every move synchronized like clockwork. The compound was a maze of security systems and armed guards, but they fought their way through with relentless determination. As they reached the control room, they found Anastasia waiting for them, flanked by armed guards and a countdown ticking down on a massive screen. "This is it," Anastasia said, her voice dripping with venom. "The world burns, and you'll have front row seats." J-Cat stepped forward, his gun trained on her. "Not today." Fia worked furiously to override the launch sequence while J-Cat engaged Anastasia and her guards. The room erupted into chaos, gunfire and shouts echoing off the walls. With seconds to spare, Fia shouted, "I've got it." The countdown froze, and the facility's systems shut down. Anastasia, cornered and defeated, glared at J-Cat with icy defiance. "You've won this round. But the Abyss isn't finished." J-Cat holstered his weapon, his brown eyes like stone. "Maybe not. But neither am I." The light beyond the Abyss. As dawn broke over Berlin, J-Cat and Fia stood atop the Brandenburg Gate, watching the city come to life. The Abyss Consortium was crippled, its plans dismantled, but they both knew the fight was far from over. "What now?" Fia asked, her voice soft but resolute. J-Cat smirked, the first hint of warmth breaking through his stoic exterior. "Now, we rest. But tomorrow, we fight again." And as they descended into the city below, the world braced itself for the next chapter in J-Cat's relentless war, a fight not just against darkness, but for the light that would one day pierce through it. And that's a wrap. On another thrilling episode of J-Cat Adventures. I hope you've been on the edge of your seat, caught up in the mystery, excitement, and danger that always follows J-Cat wherever he goes. From heart-pounding action to deep emotional connections, J-Cat's world never fails to surprise. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss out on the next big adventure. Whether you're into romance, suspense, or mind-bending mysteries, there's always something more coming. Want to dive deeper? Explore more of JCat's thrilling escapades by grabbing an ebook at Etsy or head over to Amazon for paperbacks and hard copies. Trust me, you'll want to have JCat's latest adventure right in your hands. And remember, the podcast continues across your favorite platforms: iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Wherever you go, JCat is right there, ready to bring you into his world of suspense, romance, and non-stop action. Are you loving the thrilling adventures of JCat the Fearless and the heartwarming stories of kindness and love on the Jay Bahari podcast? If so, we need your support to keep the magic alive. Your donation helps us bring you weekly episodes packed with romance, suspense, crime, and classic drama, all delivered with a touch of daring excitement. If you're hooked on the suave style of JCat and his action-packed escapades, show your support today. Click the link to donate and help us continue creating the stories you love. Thank you for being part of the journey. Until next time, keep that spirit of adventure burning bright. The world is filled with endless possibilities, and JCat is proof that no mystery is too big to solve. Remember, click on the agent hotline and share your real-life spy story, and I'll work it into my next mission. I'll add my own commentary, throw in a little espionage flair, and make your story a part of the action. Because the next chapter of JCat Adventures is just around the corner.
Soul in a digital age, Jay Bahari's love breaking out of range. Solar mission breaking down the wall. 60 years deep, but his spirit is young. Every heart is strong. From the binary beats to the pixelated sky, soaring high, he's on a quest to spread love. So here's to Jay Bahari, a love pioneer, spreading love message live. He's on a quest to spread
Disclaimer: The Adventures of J. Cat is a work of fiction. The characters, events, and settings depicted in this series are the products of the author's imagination and are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to real persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. This series contains mature themes, including but not limited to romantic and erotic content, that may not be suitable for all audiences. Reader discretion is advised. The depictions of relationships, encounters, and situations are intended for entertainment purposes only and do not reflect real-life practices or endorse any specific behaviors. The portrayal of characters, including their actions and interactions, is intended to be a dramatic and fictional narrative. The series is not intended to promote or condone any form of violence, exploitation, or abuse. The character of J. Cat, while depicted as a hero in fictional scenarios, is a creation meant to entertain and should not be considered a role model for real-life behavior. Readers are reminded that this is a work of fiction and should enjoy it as such. Any interpretations or applications of the content within real-world contexts are the responsibility of the reader. The author and publishers disclaim any liability for actions taken by readers based on fictional portrayals and scenarios in the series. Notes: J. Bahari, the imaginative mind behind The Adventures of J. Cat, has a unique talent for weaving tales of mystery, romance, and adventure. With a flair for creating captivating characters and intricate plots, J. Bahari brings to life the dark and handsome playboy, J. Cat, whose escapades enthrall readers and leave them eagerly awaiting the next thrilling episode. J. Bahari's storytelling is enriched by a deep understanding of human nature and a keen eye for detail, crafting narratives that resonate with both excitement and emotional depth. Each episode of J. Cat's adventures is a testament to Bahari's ability to blend intrigue with passion, creating a world where the extraordinary becomes reality. In this creative journey, J. Bahari has harnessed the power of artificial intelligence to enhance the storytelling process. With the help of AI input, Bahari has been able to explore new dimensions of creativity, pushing the boundaries of conventional storytelling to deliver an experience that is both innovative and compelling. Together, J. Bahari and AI have crafted a series that not only entertains but also captivates the imagination, inviting readers into a world where seduction and suspense intertwine in the most alluring ways. This collaboration stands as a testament to the endless possibilities that arise when human creativity meets cutting-edge technology, forging a path to stories that are as mesmerizing as they are unforgettable.